Well, this just removes all doubt, doesn't it?
何がはっきりしたんですか?
Oh, nothing, just talking to myself.
そうですか.
A slightly disconcerted expression flashes across Sachi's face, but soon enough she's regained control of her features. In that case, I'll leave it in your hands, but if something comes up, say the word and I'll help you anytime.
はい、ゆうくんにそう言っていただけると心強いです.
After ruffling Sachi's hair for a moment, they quietly leave the room. If Sachi had admitted her dilemma and turned to me for help, her events would probably have taken a complete 180 from their current course. And in doing so, I think the answer to my problem would soon have been revealed to her. But instead, Sachi brushed my offer aside and hid her struggle from me. Even to the point of lying, violating her own absolute standards for goodness. Unfortunately, it seems like my preparations won't have been in vain. When someone asks you for a symbol of summer, plenty of things probably come to mind. Cicadas, watermelon, the beach, fireworks, shaved ice. I mean, anyone can make a pretty decent list of just the obvious standards. We've all experienced every one of these at some point, right? Or at least, I hope you have. But for students in particular, one of the more memorable aspects of the summer experience arrives only at its very end.
神様がさあ夏休み最後の日を楽しみなさいって言ってるような天気のいい日にどうして私は勉強しないといけないのよ。それはあんたが全然宿題やってなかったからでしょうが。だってわからない宿題があったらいつもはサチがやってくれてたし。呆れた。あなた1学年下の小峰さんに宿題を手伝ってもらっていたの。
You're never gonna learn, Mature, if you have her do all of your work for you.
だってサチがよろしければ私がって言ってくれるから。で、思わずその行為に甘えてしまったと。きっとチルチルはあれな、サッチンみたいなできる人と結婚したらダメ人間になってしまうのよさ。ダメ人間って。それはツンともせずデレもせずだらしなく伸びた金髪を揺らして歩く。
Okay.
見た目もそうジルジルって感じなのよ。やめて、私の未来をリアルに予測しないで。グフフグフフフ。
Mature's got tough in her own right.
風見くん、ちょっといいかしら。
Sure, what's up? As I watch Mature thrash about her beloved twin tails, swinging from side to side with all the kinetic energy of traditional Chinese lion dance, Sakaki sidles up and requests my attention. I haven't finished your homework either, Sakaki. Need help? Okay. Not dignifying my attempt at humor with a response, Sakaki pivots on her heel and begins to walk. I follow obediently. After briskly making her way up the stairs to the third floor, Sakaki stops abruptly and turns back to face me. So, why bring me all the way up here? Planning to confess your love or something? Oh, I'm not ready! Oh no, do I deny her or do I accept? I'm already in the thing with Sachi. Huh, so this is what that's about.
あなたたちが受けた依頼は休み明けにあるテストをなくすこと。だとしたら残り時間はもうほとんどない。明日になって授業が始まればさらに手を出しにくくなるはずでしょ。
You're absolutely right on all counts, Sakaki. Full marks.
ならこの状況で小峰さんはどうやってあの依頼を達成するというの？
You'll find out soon enough, trust me.
あなたはいつまでそうやって答えをごまかすつもりなの？
Such a cynic. I'm not being evasive this time.
それはどういう意味？
Means that Sachi's gonna make her move today. Today. On that note, I need you to help me with something, Sakaki, while I have you here.
手伝ってもらいたいこと？
Take these. I reach into my breast pocket, retrieve the tickets I prepared beforehand, and hold them out for Sakaki to accept.
これは
A complimentary helicopter ride ticket, 4 of them, to be exact. Shimashima's Cape, beautiful night scenery spread out below you and all that, you know.
これはあなたの方をビンタしてもいい合図として受け取ればいいのかしら？
You know what I had to do to get those tickets. I'm perfectly serious.
じゃあこのチケットがあの依頼にどう関係しているのか説明してちょうだい。
We already talked about the possibility of danger, remember? These tickets have a great deal to do with that.
つまりこのチケットは私たちへの配慮だと？
Yeah, it's a win-win. You won't face any unfounded suspicion, and it'll be easier for us to act.
なるほど。あなたの言いたいことは分かったわ。
I'm glad to hear it.
でもその説明で私が納得するとでも？
Oh, pretty much, yeah. I mean, you did promise to help me out, and I trust you, Sakaki. I don't trust those other people. They're kind of weird.
相変わらずずるい言い方だわ。
Mumbling in a sulky tone of voice, Sakaki quietly slides the tickets into her pocket. Thanks. I owe you one.
別に恩が売りたいわけではないけれど、このチケットで私は何をすればいいのかしら？
Oh, nothing special. Go enjoy the view. Just make sure you get the others to come along. That's kind of imperative.
たったそれだけなの？
Over the last few months, I've learned all too well that corralling that group is never an easy task.
なるほど。確かにそうかもしれないわね。
I'm counting on you to take care of them, alright? I trust you. You're a leader.
ええ。すべてが終わったら、じっくり話を聞かせてもらうことにするわ。
Cutting off the conversation, Sakaki turns to leave the room. Before you go, I want to apologize. Sorry, Sakaki.
これはどういう風の吹き回し？すべてを話せないことに対するお詫びのつもりなのかしら？
You'll understand soon enough as well. You all will. My wisecrack goes over like a lead balloon. In the end, Sakaki stalks off down the stairs, in even worse mood than before. I'm sorry for the hassle, Sakaki, but it had to be done.
ただいまー。
Tadaimo! Just as I'm leaving my room, I hear Amani and Makina returning through the front door. It's a lot of bags. Shopping expedition, I assume.
そうなんだけど、ちょっとおかしなことがあったのよね。
How so?
いつもみたいにアマネーがお色気を振りまきながら商店街で買い物してたら、みんながアマネちゃんやマキボウも大変だねって言いながらいろいろおまけしてくれたのよさ。
でも私たちには何の心当たりもないから得した反面ちょっと悪い気がしちゃってさ。
I see.
ユージは何か心当たりあったりする？
Nothing comes to mind. Maybe they just decided to show some appreciation for your constant patronage.
だといいんだけどね。
Not entirely convinced, Amane wanders slowly up the stairs to the second floor with her head tilted slightly in puzzlement.
ねえお兄ちゃん、今日サッチン見た？
Come to think of it, no. She hasn't been around.
お兄ちゃんが見てないって言うなら買い物にでも行ってるのかもしれないのよさ。
That's a possibility, yeah.
じゃあもしサッチンを見かけたら私が探してたって伝えてほしいのよ。
I will do that.
ありがとう。じゃあ私はアマネーの手伝いをしてくるのよさ。
You have fun. By snatching half-cooked food off the plate when her back's turned.
失礼な。それは少しだけなのよさ。
Oh, kids these days. Pretty indignant, considering she's not even denying it. Not bothering to offer a verbal retort, I watch Makina trot energetically up the stairs towards Amane's room. Well, assuming she has to act today, Sachi might already have begun to make her preparations. Sakaki successfully coaxed the others out. The dorm lies silent and deserted. Alone on the roof, I gazed blankly out at the sinking sun. I'm sure the others had questions about the sudden event and why Sachi and I weren't coming along, but none of them got to me. Guess Sakaki was thoughtful enough to take care of that. It's not long until nightfall. I'm not particularly fond of the night. To be honest, you could say I actively disliked it. I hate the night. It's so dark and dreary. Night is a deep and hostile blackness that swallows us whole. A darkness so absolute that it feels like a premonition of death. It makes us remember things we'd rather forget. Images we've tried to erase from our memories. It shows us with gut-rushing clarity just how weak and powerless we really are. Of course, I'm aware that the same does not apply for everyone, but ever since that day, this is what the night has been for me. Even at times like this, letting my guard down for a minute, I start shaking like an idiot. And tonight there's more to it than old trauma. The vague anxiety I've felt ever since I decided to bring Sachi's normality is weighing heavily on my shoulders. I felt the same way when I forced her to accept this request. It's something like guilt. I drove Sachi's back to the wall for my own selfish reasons. I got practically everyone I know mixed up in all this as well. And after all that, even if I succeed, will it really make her any happier? You're gambling with someone's life here. You really alright with that? When I close my eyes, the other side of me whispers its doubts. Look at that. Trembling. Still scared of the dark at my age. Almost like a curse, isn't it? The students gathered at this academy all have their little quirks. And I'm no exception. Right now I'm just a piece of defense equipment, kept alive by my country for its own purposes. I'm not gifted with perfect insight and judgment. I've never been a genius like my sister was. Far from it. Am I really qualified to be messing around with her life? Am I really qualified to mess around with anyone's life, really? When I voice my worries, I feel sweat gathering unpleasantly in the palms of my hands. Still, if I let myself flinch this late in the game, my master would probably come back to life just to kick my ass into next week. That's right. No point hesitating now. I already made my decision. I'll do everything I can, and I'll believe in Sachi. I have to. Mentally reviewing the plan I polished over these last few days, I followed that procedure with exacting care, one deliberate step at a time. From what the principal told us, the achievement test will be held the day after tomorrow. However, considering the opening ceremony tomorrow and the unpredictable obstacles it will present, today is my last real chance to carry out this task. But even after all my meticulous research and thorough brainstorming, I was unable to find a plausible alternative to my previous method.
でも大丈夫。前回はうまくいったんだし、この方法自体に問題があるわけじゃない。ミスなく計画通りの手順を踏めば、きっと今回もうまくいく。だから大丈夫。大丈夫。
I repeat the words again and again, trying to convince myself they're true. Trying to distract myself from the hazy, dark discomfort smoldering somewhere deep inside my chest.
これはきっと良くないもの。いい子でいるためには必要ないもの。だから余計なことは考えないようにしなきゃ。
Regaining my calm with an effort of will, I begin to spread a certain something along the darkened hallway. The instant the liquid in the thick plastic can touches the outside air, a unique smell fills my nose. I knew the stench well even as a child, when I used to help pour new fuel into the kerosene heaters that warmed our home, but I never did come to like it. As the distracted thoughts run through my head, I empty the can, then drop a rag to the floor and let the oil soak into it.
あとはこれに火をつける。
When I whisper those words to myself, I feel a voice whispering back, somewhere deep inside my mind. My hands come to a sudden stop. And as my thoughts turn to the nature of that voice, I violently shake my head back and forth, pushing it all away. I don't need to listen. Not now. I crouch to the ground, determined, resigned, vaguely feeling some small part of myself give up, and I reach out to the slick rag, lighter clenched firmly in my hand. The small seed of flame I plant at the corner of the cotton cloth blossoms quickly. Spreading along the line of fuel, it transforms before my eyes into a full-scale fire. Scorching heat batters my skin. It's not an unfamiliar sensation. I'm seized with a strange feeling, almost like nostalgia. But none of that matters any longer. Since this time I deactivated the fire alarms and sprinkler system beforehand, all I need to do is repeat this procedure a few times throughout the building.
これでみちる様の依頼を達成することができる。そうすればゆうくんから出された課題の答えもきっと。
For a moment, relief booms in my chest, and in the next, with the sound of a dozen showers switched on at once, the sprinklers installed in the ceiling spring to life. Before I can even understand the situation, an almost disproportionate torrent of cold water rains down, soaking every inch of the hallway. The flames that were growing so vigorously only seconds before shrink with astonishing swiftness.
そんなちゃんと確かめたはずなのにどうして。
Just last night, I entered the pump room and turned off every last one of the disaster prevention systems installed in this building, even testing that the sprinklers would no longer activate. But all of a sudden, they're completely functional. It's simply incomprehensible. The fire's gone out. That one thought filling my mind, I run over to the rag, shelter of my body, and desperately flick the switch of my lighter.
お願いついてお願い。
But the cloth's already soaked thoroughly with water. It refuses to accept the flame. A waterlogged piece of cotton isn't going to catch fire. I understand that rationally, but I still push the switch frantically, half crazed with desperation and terror. So you chose this method after all. When I turn the corner into the thoroughly drenched hallway, I find Sachi crouched low on the floor, her eyes wide with shock. Interesting that she came in full school uniform, not the maid outfit she finds it easiest to work in. I guess she was trying to show respect for the place in her own way.
まさかこれゆうくんが。
Yeah, I turned the sprinklers on this afternoon, if that's what you're wondering about. Well, it'd be a bit of a pain in the ass if the alarms went off, so I did leave those deactivated. Carefully shutting down the preventative systems beforehand to enable setting a large-scale fire? That's just the sort of plan I'd expect from you, Sachi.
でもどうしてそれをゆうくんが。それにどうして今ここに。
It's actually pretty simple to predict the way a competent, careful person will approach something like this. If I was going to try and set fire to this building, I'd have done the exact same thing. Taking out the sprinklers was a necessity, and today was the only way to do it.
じゃあゆうくんは私が学校 しようとしていたことを。
Yes, I expected you to use this method from the start. And I turned the sprinklers back on because there's something I want to tell you. Sachi's mind doesn't seem to have fully caught up with the events. Her face is blank, her eyes filled with puzzlement. Most likely, she hadn't even begun to consider the possibility that someone would step in to interfere at this juncture. The situation you're dealing with here is completely different from the last one. The size and construction of this building is nothing like that little wooden schoolhouse. Plus, it's equipped with state-of-the-art firefighting systems. Disabling those beforehand was a good start, but sprinkling kerosene around like you did last time would require a lot more fuel to be really effective, and you need a lot more time to spread it. Considering that you absolutely have to do the job alone before anyone notices, your chances of success are virtually nil. It's entirely likely you'd cause some damage here and there, sure, but that's not enough to cause a huge problem. The tests would just be moved to an intact classroom. This place was designed for people like us, remember? You're not going to shut it down that easily. As I lay out the truth of the situation, Sachi stares up at me with disbelief and terror in her eyes.
じゃあ私は。
Yes, at this rate you are going to fail.
そんな。
The color instantly drains from Sachi's face. She slumps jerkily to the soaking wet floor like a puppet cut from its strings. But they like to use that phrase a lot, don't they? Really? You couldn't come up with anything else? Why so surprised? I'm pretty sure you knew this wouldn't work all along. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been searching that intently for another way. No need for all the research if your previous method was good enough, right? But no matter how hard you looked, no matter how hard you thought it over, no other solution presented itself. And, unable to find a generally viable strategy, you had no choice but to turn to your previous method, right? I mean, since there was no other way, even if the prospects looked dim, you could at least cling to the thought that, well, it worked before. Am I wrong?
そんなことありません。前はこの方法でうまくいったんですから、絶対にうまくいきます。だから大丈夫なんです。だって他に方法がないなら必ず成功させるしかない。失敗することなんて考えてはいけないんです。だって私に失敗は許されない。私はいつもいい子でいなきゃいけない。どんな手段を使っても絶対にこの依頼を成功させなきゃダメなんです。
I've never seen this expression on her face before. Never heard her voice so thick with emotion. The sound echoes fiercely down the dark hallway. No one responds. Her anguish and desperation hang in the air for a moment, then fade into the indifferent silence, as if to symbolize her long, lonely, futile struggle. Tell me something, Sachi. Why are you so determined to do everything asked of you? Why are you so persistent with this good girl thing? Getting rid of a test is a completely unreasonable demand to make of a normal human being. The others said as much, didn't they? Even if you give up now, they'll probably just say, yeah, I figured as much. Nobody's gonna hold it against you.
それはウー君の推測に過ぎません。
What?
どんなに仲のいい相手でも相手の気持ちは相手にしか分かりません。それは血のつながった家族だって同じです。だから一度も失敗できない。何かを失いたくなければいい子でいないといけない。誰よりも勉強をして誰よりも言うことを聞いて誰からも好かれるような子でいなければいけないんです。そうじゃないとみんななくなってしまう。現に 幼い頃の私が悪い子だったせいで、私の大好きだった人はみんな、あんなに私のことを可愛がってくれていたお父さんとお母さん、わがままばかり言う私に愛想を尽かして、あんな子、それにウくんだって大切なものを失うのは自分が死ぬことよりも怖い。あんなに辛い思いをするのはもう嫌なんです。もう何も失いたくない。だから私は絶対に失敗できないんです。今度失敗したらきっとまたみんないなくなってしまう。こんな私に彼女になれって言ってくれたゆうくんも、みちる様も、まきちゃんも、あまねさんも、さくきさんも、学園長さんも、みんないなくなってしまうんです。
Sachi's feelings full out of her in a torrent of words, her voice rising to a shout. Every sentence is filled with such bitterness that it's difficult even to listen. The pain of losing those who are precious to her, the sadness, the impotent anger, all jumbled together in an anguished wail. To me, it sounds like the voice of a child crying out for help. So then, if you become a good girl, if you succeed in this request, will you be yourself again? Well, acting like a good girl should keep the things you love safe. What do you think, Sachi? Sachi's bared her heart to me. In return, I offer not kindness or comforting words, but a steady gaze.
それはもちろんです。
I see. In that case, I'll grant your wish. I'm going to help you become the person you want to be. I will make sure you complete this task.
そんな、どうして？
I made a promise, didn't I? I want to help you be yourself.
だとしても、ゆうくんはさっきこの依頼を成功させるのは限りなく不可能に近いって。
Virtually impossible means there's a non-zero chance. And if you're not trying to do everything alone, things change pretty dramatically. As long as you really are willing to do whatever it takes, there are plenty of ways to get this done.
それは本当でしょうか？
Of course.
じゃあゆうくんには今回の依頼を成功させるための作戦があるんですね。
Yeah, I have a slightly different way of doing things, but it should be fine. The preliminary arrangements are already in place.
いつの間にそんなことを。
I assume joint responsibility for our success on this job. And when 9029 participates in a mission, failure is not an option. Of course, this isn't an Ichigai job, I know that, and I'm not going on a cleaning expedition. Even so, I'm still my master's pupil. Hasuko didn't just develop my technique and cram me full of technical knowledge. She taught me a whole way of thinking. No matter what the job entails, I'll face it with the resolve and focus I'll bring to the most dangerous of missions.
9029。
Well, it's just a number that comes with a bit of a reputation. No matter how ugly things look, 9029 pulls through. Sachi gazes up at me as though I've descended on a cloud from heaven. Having proposed this strategy, I naturally know full well how things are going to play out. And when I think about what's coming, it takes a real effort not to turn away from that gaze.
ゆうくん？
No, it's nothing. Shaking my head lightly to drive away the lingering touch of guilt, I settle my face into a serious expression. But since it's your perfect record at stake here, I think you should be the one to actually carry this plan out.
はい。私にできることがあれば何でもやらせてください。
Right. Well, in that case, there's something I want you to do for me.
やってもらいたいこと。